The self-hatred is probably the worst symptom of all of ADHD. I was a lunatic. Every night I'd be blackout drunk. I would get in fights. I've slept on a street.
I was an alcoholic, emotionally unavailable. I didn't know how to be vulnerable.
The biggest thing I went through was realising some of the things that I despised and hated and had been trying to beat out of myself for 20 years wasn't my fault. And when you stop trying to fix it, you claim back so much time.
We've had such a great response to the podcast, and so many of you have been in touch asking what you can do to help. It's really simple. Just follow, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. That way we can reach more people, and that way we can celebrate these great minds that think differently. If you're on social media and you're interested in neurodivergence, the chances are you've heard of our next guests. Known as ADHD Love, their viral videos have attracted over 200 million views with their candid insights into living with ADHD. Rox, a platinum-selling songwriter, and Rich, a former banker, share their personal journey to reduce stigma and raise awareness. These guys are the real deal. So if you're ADHD or your partner's ADHD, there's so much in this episode to learn from. Let's get into it. Let's see how great minds think differently. I'm going to start slightly controversially. I want to read this to you guys.
Okay.
When Seedlip launched, there was so much, I had some absolutely classic kind of comments and reviews. Tasting like witch's piss was definitely one of the highlights. And just reading all of the thousands of amazing reviews on your book, this negative one kind of, I guess, stuck out to me. And so I wanted to get in there and, let's discuss it. Just unbearably cringe, both in style and advice. Basically, what it boils down to is that as an adult with ADHD, you should find yourself a neurotypical partner who will constantly pat your pretty little head and do everything for you. How empowering. Miranda Rawlins, reviewing your book.
What a delight Miranda is.
What a delight. I've stopped reading them now.
What do you say to that?
So nothing now. And reason being, when we released Dirty Laundry, I was absolutely obsessed with the reviews, really cared deeply. But now there's too many positive ones. I find it quite easy now to just ignore the negative. I mean, there's something quite clearly not going really well in Miranda's life to take the time to do that. So.
And I could have chosen from 1,000 amazing reviews just to say, as you guys know. But that one was just okay, I wonder what they think.
I think it's absolutely okay for someone to take that read on it, because my life story is, without Rich, I don't work very well. As a human, in a relationship, as a business person, I don't work very well without him. And I'm not ashamed to admit that I need a teammate. At work, as a co-parent, in business, I don't function well alone. Put me in a team, the yin to my yang, and it's bloody amazing. So do you know what? If you look at that and go, that's not empowering because you can't do it all alone. If Miranda can do life all alone, I'm in awe. You're a bit of a but I'm genuinely in awe. And I think I've got to the point of just accepting that I can't do everything. I'm terrible at so much stuff. But with the right support and love and help, I can also be awesome.
How would you have reacted 3 years ago?
Would have cried, wanted to reach out to her, try and explain myself, try and change her mind.
I would have been aggressive. I wouldn't have tried to explain. I would have been attacking immediately.
Protective.
You can't make everyone like you.
Nope.
I mean, my own dad doesn't like me, so Miranda, you're in good company.
But in fairness, you spoke about it on our show that we did earlier this year, this notion of when people say ADHD is a superpower. You're quite clear saying that for you personally, it's when you're supported and you've got the tools to flourish, I suppose you can say that it's a superpower. But when you're not paying your bills on time and late everywhere and not meeting deadlines and letting people down with commitments, it probably doesn't feel like a superpower, does it?
No. So often people categorise it as either a disability or a superpower.
Why do we go to those extremes?
Black and white thinking.
Isn't it? They are so extreme.
Black and white thinking, but it can be both. And I can see it as a superpower today, writing books and doing apps and just living this really crazy, wonderful, changing life. Couldn't do it without neurodivergence. No way, because the crazy ideas come from that type of brain. But go back 6 years, 40 grand in debt, self-harming, using alcohol and drugs to self-medicate, sat in a flat with the lights turned off because I couldn't pay my electricity bill. I could see it as a disability. The difference is the support. And I think that's so important, especially for kind of parents of neurodivergent kids. It's the support and the love. Like when we're supported and loved, you're going to get the best version of that human.
Yeah, and that I guess is true whether that's the education system or that's your employer. It's not just like, okay, loved ones, partners, but family dynamics, etc. You don't have to do it all on your own.
Yeah.
And I think it's great to be able to say, actually, I need help with that. Like I can't sit down and go through my emails on my own.
Yeah.
I could really beat myself up about that.
Yeah.
Like, come on, who do you think you are? You can't just sit down and look through some emails. But actually,
that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Isn't it so funny? Because you can run.
Why are you laughing?
Well, because I think of Seedlip, I think of you changing the game, running this huge, incredible business, and yet at the same time being unable to go through emails. And I think people could so easily look at someone like you and think, he's operating on this super high level, he must be doing all this productivity. No, like the issues are still there, the difficulties are still there, but so is the brilliance.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing. Like you get to find things difficult and you get to be brilliant. It's not one or the other.
And I have an understanding of why that's happening now. And therefore I got some choices that I can get some help or put some things in place that means, I don't have to just basically beat myself up.
Yeah. What do you do? Do you just give someone access or do you have someone sit with you?
Yeah, I'm fortunate that I have an assistant, Sarah, and Sarah will come over to my desk and be like, should we go through some emails?
Amazing.
And I'll be like, yeah, okay. And Sarah's coming over thinking, okay, I'm going to take away some actions. And actually what happens is I go through my emails and Sarah sits there in silence.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are big on the body doubling piece. And that's all it is. All Sarah has to do is come over and sit down. That's all she's doing. And then
it's a phenomenon, isn't it?
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. When you realise it helps, it's game changing. Just a little bit of company. And we can do the things that have felt impossible to us. And I just wish everybody knew about it. You know, what's the simplest productivity hack? Just have somebody there with you. How cute is that?
Rather than, I don't know, finding some time productivity app where I've got some new calendar system or I've got some reminders or blocking time out, in the future or trying to find a regular slot. Yes, Monday morning, 9 a.m, I'm going to go through my emails.
For a week, I tend to do the new systems for like a week. I'll be like, it's worked. I finally fixed ADHD. And then it all falls apart again. I think the moment we stop trying to fix and just accept, I can't read emails. Cool. Could you sit with me or whatever it is? Life changes.
Even clearing your clothes up off the floor robe, I'll be like, babe, it's getting a bit much now. I can sort of not really see the carpet anymore.
Can we just rewind to some of your terminology, and we're going to get onto the book in a minute, is so brilliant, is so wonderful because it's intuitive and it's immediate. Can we just go back to floor robe?
So it's literally an amalgamation of a floor and a wardrobe.
Yeah.
So that is where Rox puts all of her, well, it's either clothes that she's worn, clothes that are clean that she's tried on and decided not to wear that day.
Yeah.
Or dirty clothes, all clothes that should be on the wear again shelf. So it's sort of a mixture. It's a concoction, just everywhere on the floor.
You could also call it a walk-on closet.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the high-end version, you know?
And how do you organise your clothes?
So
And then I'll tell you how I organise my clothes.
Okay.
if it needs to be worn again, so if it's not quite dirty, I'll just put it neatly on the end of the bed. If it's dirty, I'll put it in the dirty washing. If it's clean, I'll put it away.
But in its own pile, like t-shirts, trousers, like everything's in its own pile.
Yeah.
Yeah, I subscribe to this way.
The pile system.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's all colour coordinated. I mean, I only really wear 3 colours, so
Is neon green one of them?
neon green in smatterings.
Okay.
You kind of can't.
So green in total, like, is one of the colours, right?
You know, my daughter, my middle daughter, is always like, "Well, Daddy likes green and black, and that's it. Can you wear something else, Daddy? Because my favourite colour's pink and purple." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, but yeah, green, black, and white. That's all I wear." But what goes through your head when you know a lot about ADHD, you know a lot about your brain? I'm not saying there's no excuses, but what goes through your head when the wardrobe carries on?
So in the moment when I'm dropping the clothes on the floor, it's like, I shouldn't be doing this. I should fold this up and put it away. I'm like, I should. And I don't. It's like the knowledge is there, but connecting the knowledge to the action in basic tasks is very, very, very difficult. I just constantly like to rebel against all of the rules that would make my life a lot easier.
Are you both rebels?
I think so. I'm not, like, I'm tidy though. Like, I'm probably, do you know what I mean? I'm
Tidy
a rebel.
rebels.
I'm a rebel in other ways. Like, I parked in the permit holder space today because there was no car parking spaces. So we're going back to a car parking ticket, but I just was prepared to take that sacrifice.
I love that you mentioned about being tidy, and then you're like, yeah, look, we're grown-ups now, so parking in things like the permit space, yeah, that's quite rebellious for us.
That's
That's so true. I
rebellious
used
as
to be
it
an
gets.
absolute gambling addict, and now the worst is like parking in a spot that isn't quite right. Wait, there's more to the wardrobe thing though, because there's also how you feel about when I say, can this be tidied up, please?
Oh yeah,
because there is let me start here. There's instant frustration and be defensive. Like when you say, babe, like, could we do this? No, I don't want to now, blah, 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 blah. But then on reflection, she'll probably start to feel a bit of guilt and maybe a little smidge of shame that you've let it get to that stage, and then reluctantly we'll do it. But we prevent that now with body doubling. Like, I'll just say, do you want me to stand with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes even you going, do you want me to just stand with you? I'm like, no, I don't need that. And then I'll do it almost to spite that I don't need him in there. It's like so weird. Taking these
some good reverse psychology
reverse
there.
psychology, weird routes. But I think the shame thing is really real. Like when he has to come and say, it's got a bit messy, it's affecting me, could we please do it? And I know he's right and I know it's not okay. But actually the shame just makes me a bit spiky and like, yeah, I'll get to it. I'll do it later, not now. I don't like being told what to do.
No, you do not.
But the gap between you raising it and me doing it is getting shorter and shorter
Okay.
because I'm maturing in that process.
Yeah.
2 words come up a lot: shame and self-hate. I kind of, my outside in looking perspective is you have this amazing ability to be just so on point in terms of being relatable and truthful and genuine, and you know, you just hit the nail on the head in loads of your work so many times. But then there's this amazing, powerful undercurrent, which is the self-hate and the shame and the seriousness, right, of all of this. And it's great that we can laugh and joke, but it's also important, I guess, that we share, yeah, the realities of like life can be really bad and this is really serious. And your book, Small Talk, your second book, I found such an amazing way of like just articulating that, of like, here's 10 lies, here's 10 things that we say to ourselves. And I wondered if we could just go into those 10.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the first thing to say, the 10 came from a little Instagram poll. We were actually writing a totally different book, a positive book, believe it or not. That got scrapped. That wasn't on
Six
brand.
months in.
Yeah,
6 months in.
Wow.
And we asked Insta stories a question about what your core beliefs were. It was a chapter on identity. And I think we were just interested. And thousands and thousands of replies. Not one was positive. So then we asked an audience of mainly ADHDers, what's your core belief? Thousands and thousands of, I'm lazy, I'm useless, I'll never find love, I'm unworthy, I'm an attention seeker. Just horrible, horrible things. And I just sat there reading them through, burst out crying, because I recognised every single one to be true for myself. A lot of them have shifted in the last few years, but those narratives, those stories had been how I thought about myself for decades. And I think we realised that was what we needed to speak about. Like online, it is fun and there's time blindness and there's walking into each other and there's wardrobes, and entertainment is such an amazing vehicle for truth. However, dropping deeper, the self-hatred is probably the worst symptom of all of ADHD.
But the medium, Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is the message. And, you know, the format of being solo, one person reading a book about something really serious, right, that's really personal, versus, you know, a reel or a TikTok video or whatever that can reach loads and loads of people. I just think you've just done it so well. I just think it's spot on to be able to have both those sides rather than, hey, isn't it all funny? Aren't we silly? Just think it's really smart.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Some people might be surprised because if you've seen the reels, you might think we're a couple of jokers, and you get the book and it's like depression, suicidal ideation, you hate yourself. It's like, sorry, hopefully there's some positives in there.
Yeah, but I just want to read out these 10.
Oh, yeah.
I am lazy. I am not trying hard enough. I quit everything I start. I am stupid. ADHD isn't real. I'm a bad person. Everybody secretly hates me. I am useless. I am a burden. I am a failure. The world would be better without me.
Wow, that's a rip-roaring read, isn't it?
Brutal.
They are brutal.
Yeah.
They are, but I don't feel like those now, but I subscribe. Like I definitely I felt those.
For those people that, you know, we spoke earlier about when is it a disability, when is it a superpower, that's the real problem, I think, of when people are in a dark place, in a hole. And those beliefs come clearly internally, but also externally. And from the negative feedback they get, I can't remember. I always get this wrong. Is it like, you'll correct me,
20,000.
20,000 more pieces of negative feedback by the time they're 10? Which is just, that's where it comes from. And who's going to achieve anything if that's the belief that they've got about themselves? So, you know, we create reels about the funny stuff, and unfortunately it's just the nature of social media. If you go too serious and too dark, people don't want to watch it. Like they want to scroll their phone for entertainment, not to feel depressed. But that was the way. And our first book, Dirty Laundry, and that one, it was our way of connecting deeper to those that wanted / needed it. And yeah, we're incredibly proud, actually. I certainly am.
Yeah, 100%. I think as well, so many of us grew up feeling misunderstood. And there's so much power in just going, bleh, this is me, warts and all, and other people going, bleh, me too. It has done so much for me personally, writing those stories down, getting it out, and then having people resonate and understand and perhaps take something from it. It's been an incredible journey, really.
Apart from Miranda.
Apart from Miranda,
Yeah.
it's okay.
Why did you call it small talk?
Well, it wasn't going to be. You wanted it to be lazy, useless loser. I'm just going to be honest.
Wait.
That's what you called yourself, right? Previous.
Yeah, I want it to be like, what if you're not a lazy, useless loser or the lazy lie? These felt like, but the publisher was like, no one will like that. It's a little bit edgy. It's really rude. And I'm like, it's not like the lazy lie. You can see it, right? But basically got told no, which was hard.
That doesn't go down well with Rock.
Let's talk about that.
It's probably one of my toxic traits is obsessional belief in my creative ideas. Well aware 99% is shit, but I am so attached. I see it so clearly and I have to be allowed to follow it. And obviously when you're working with a publisher, you haven't got that luxury. It's their business rules, not yours. And I sort of realised like, I'm not built for this. And we got there in the end. We had some tough combos and I had to sort of face my own toxic trait, be like, I'm going to need to compromise. And what if I am in fact wrong? What if Penguin know more about releasing books than me?
No,
Which sounds...
never.
It sounds crazy, but you're, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, it's just that part of the brain that's like, this is the idea, it's brilliant, and I'm going to pursue it with everything that I have.
Until someone says otherwise, right? Until like I'm going straight line.
Even then.
And you can chip away or you can help, but until I'm really convinced that it's not a great idea.
Other than, though, the fact that we didn't want to call it small talk, it's probably worth discussing why we did.
Thanks for bringing us back to
bring us back to the positivity. So we had a meeting with our editor when we were sort of shooting around other ideas. We were saying random things and then small talk. I think I said small talk, we hate small talk. And she went, well, it's funny because the book's all big talk and that. And then I was able to see the blooms or the little first flourishes of, okay, that could work. And then actually I think we started to really like it,
and
didn't
we
we?
refer to it as people talking down to themselves, so like small talk. Bit of a play on words.
We hate small talk, so it's also just quite funny.
I mean, small talk is just dreadful, isn't it? But I do like that. I mean, you're pretty quick into lazy loser stuff, right? You've got that pretty up front, you know. You buy the book, you open it up, get, 3 paragraphs in, boom, you're in.
Yes.
You're there. You don't need it to be the title of the book. You don't need it to scream in people's faces.
That's so true. That was my name for myself.
Rox, what is the best thing about Rich?
Oh my gosh. Now,
if you say cleaning, I am leaving.
Once I answered the question and I said cleaning.
On the internet, live, by the way.
So I won't. It's definitely not cleaning. It is just how kind he is. How kind. Pretty much all the time. To me, to the kiddies. You're just the kindest person ever. And it always just surprises me, even when we annoy each other sometimes, as couples will do. He still remains so kind, even within conflict. And it's taught me so much. You've taught me so much about communication and love and honesty and vulnerability. And big fan of the old kindness.
And why is kindness so important to you?
I think because I've had quite a lot of people be mean to me, family, close people. Been shouted at, screamed at, shamed, rejected. So I have a autopilot that expects that to happen, especially when there's a little argument or conflict. I expect that I'm going to be shamed, shut out, rejected. And you've never once, even when I've done your head in, you've never ever once made me feel rejected or ashamed. And that just, that means the world.
That's better than cleaning, actually.
How does that sound hearing that?
It's lovely. Yeah, it's really nice to... I must admit, when we were back in the day, somebody on live asked and she was like, is you cleaning? I was like, I can't. That was one of the times I was like,
Go back to the cleaning.
That's pissed me off. But no, that was lovely. Thank you. Buddy.
And what's the best thing, Rich, about rocks?
So I don't think objectively this would be true, but for me, the best thing about rocks would be her vulnerability. So it's something that I struggle with, or certainly probably still do, but massively have in the past. But she showed me the way of what asking for help, seeking help, supporting help looked like. And she's probably the first person in the world that's, by showing me, enabled me to be vulnerable. And that's hugely important, because I would say arrogantly that I am a better dad now. I've met Rox, and that would be her. And I know that's hugely important to Rox as well, because her experience of step parents wasn't brilliant. I owe loads to Rox in that space, just around the vulnerability. Are you going to cry?
No.
Yeah, she is.
No, I'm not. It's just cute. It's lovely. Thank you.
Do you feel like better parents now that you have just much more understanding and changed your lives?
Definitely. I mean, before that, I was an alcoholic, emotionally unavailable, toxic male. So I was trying my best, but I didn't know how to be vulnerable. I just had to be the person that provided, that never asked for help. And with that came me being quite shut off, me being quite closed. And, you know, certainly my eldest Seer would have never really learned, and they still really struggle with vulnerability and talking and having difficult conversations, but they've had a different experience for the last 4 or 5 years. I can't even remember how long we've been together, but it'll start to change over time. The brain's quite a magnificent thing. So,
and were you kind before?
So nobody else would describe me like that. Like, even now, outside of my family and loved ones, people would describe me as pedantic, direct, blunt, because that's true. So like, there'd be no one externally that would describe me as the kindest person in the world.
It's funny because my wife very nicely often says about me that she thinks that I have the biggest heart, and I'm with you. I don't think anyone else would say that. You know, my kids probably would.
Yeah.
Because I adore them. Can we talk about alcohol?
Yes.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
You're both sober?
Yes. Yes, I am 5.5 years. I'll be 6 years.
Next month.
Oh,
6 years, pretty much.
are we near September? Oh, wow. I'm almost 6 years.
And I am just over 4 years. I was 4 years in June.
Yeah.
I had to check my belly for the tattoo of the
Mine's
sobriety date.
Why do you think alcohol and ADHD are not great friends, Rox?
Well, many reasons.
Give us a few.
Self-medicating, social anxiety. So because I couldn't tolerate feeling socially awkward or small talk, I'd have to drink to be outside in the world. That's why I'm a hermit now. It's great. I think also the dopamine high that you get from alcohol is filling that kind of hole in your soul, and it's incredibly easy to become addicted to it. We know that ADHDers are more likely to suffer with addiction, something like alcohol that's so readily available and so accepted, especially in this country. It's so dangerous, and it's so wonderful that people are talking about it, that you're talking about it, so someone else can just hear that and put the dots together that it might be a dangerous path.
Yeah, that it's not particularly conducive to, neurodivergent brains.
Yeah, so I can see it. Like, even now with Rox, when she's dysregulated or highly anxious or whatever, you obviously being an alcoholic myself, you could see how a couple of beers would help, in quote marks. Clearly it doesn't. But knowing Rox now as the sober, amazingly chaotic self that she is, I could see why it was relied on like so frequently, because it was more probably the regular alcohol, wasn't it? It was like every single day, like was the dependency.
And you didn't know Rox when she was drinking alcohol?
No.
That's right.
No.
I was a lunatic, really big binge drinker. Every night I'd be blackout drunk in the end. And I would get in fights, I'd get in bar fights. I would constantly lose things anyway, but you add alcohol to it. I've lost my passport, my house keys, I've slept on a street. Just horrendous things that really put my safety at risk. I've hurt other people by cheating in relationships. I'm not blaming alcohol for that. That was me being a but when you understand ADHD, dopamine seeking, alcohol, lower inhibitions, it certainly allows you to protect yourself from those behaviours that can harm yourself and harm others.
Why did you then go for your ADHD assessment? What's that little loop that happened there?
So when I took alcohol away, although it was incredible, some mental health issues were intolerable to me. I went through mental breakdown, really. I was suffering from really intense paranoia, rage attacks, burning hot in my face, having to run away from people because I thought they were trying to attack me, like really serious. I'm grateful because it got me into therapy.
Yeah.
And that was what I first began working on, the really difficult symptoms I was experiencing, and got diagnosed or looked at through a framework of CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And working on that for a year made incredible progress. My hands always used to shake like this, and now they're relatively steady. And the paranoia, the rage attacks, all these things started to calm down. And it was only when I dealt with all of that, when suddenly these other really weird things started to show their head. They'd always been there, but they'd been covered in so much chaos, I wasn't able to notice them. And it was silly things like, I've gone the wrong way on the train like 4 times. I've lost my headphones twice this week. And because I was in therapy and I was in that mode of, I want to investigate my life, I brought that in and just said, is this normal? What's this? And that was the first time, maybe that sounds like some attention deficit difficulties. And that was all I needed to then.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Then it started. Obviously, then the assessment came, diagnosis came, and then the absolute hyper focus on everything that you could possibly know about
it happens
ADHD.
To all of us, because you've lived your whole life masking, pretending you don't have all these problems. You then find out, oh my gosh, there's a reason that isn't that I'm terrible. And every new thing you learn is just like cleaning off the shame and setting the person free. So it really, that was probably like the biggest thing I went through, was realising some of the things that I despised and hated and had been trying to beat out of myself for 20 years wasn't my fault, and it was okay.
Firstly, you're trying to keep all the ducks under the water in the bath, right? And they keep popping up, or you put them back down and another one pops up.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a reel there probably. Like,
yes, there is. You'll see it next week.
Yeah, we're going to buy ducks on the way home.
Yes. Yes.
And whether that's addictions or whatever, you're trying to keep these things underwater, but masking, in my view, I'm just like, that's what it's like. It's like trying to keep everything under the water and everything say calm and look all kind of serene. And then as soon as you start going, actually, I don't need to keep the ducks under the water anymore. Let's follow this analogy through. They all start popping up, and then you get to deal with them.
Yeah.
And then guess what? You don't have to kind of put them back under.
Yeah.
It's like, great, just put them on the shelf.
Yeah.
But it's a process, isn't it? Of sort of shedding that old skin. I still feel like I'm trying to learn this new skin that I'm in.
Mm-hmm. It takes time to get used to it. I think people always ask, how do you unmask? How do you stop? And it just takes time. It takes years because we're so conditioned to hide our struggles.
There is a risk, though, of overcorrecting with unmasking. I know that might be a controversial thing to say, but think about masking and link it with vulnerability. Like the real you, messy hair, eating peanuts off your belly button, like in your pajamas, that's private, right? That's sacred. There is ways to act in public, whether that be in a job or whether that be, in social situations. Now, clearly it goes too far with masking with ADHD, but with your brain, it's quite important not to like completely swing too far the other way, because people will be like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. It's just trying to find the version of you that works in the world for you.
Yeah, and understanding when you feel good and therefore what you can do when you feel good and some of your limits and your boundaries. I protect my energy levels more than ever because I understand how they work now. And that's massively empowering.
Mm-hmm.
But that still means that, as you're saying, Rich, social norms and etiquette, and I still understand, appreciate and respect some of those things. It's not kind of, let's be all ourselves as we are in our private life, in public, all the time.
Mm. The energy management thing is such a hack. Just understanding when you can work your arse off or give to others, and when it's like, nope, I need to lay in bed. Or
what have you noticed? What have you learned about energy and your energy in the last 3 years?
Everything I was always told and I had learned and read books about and listened to podcasts was wrong. Get up at 5, do the journaling, get to the gym, do this, work 10 hours a day. I always tried. I was like trying to do these neurotypical systems of productivity, and I was incredibly unproductive. Now I wake up, I have a coffee, I lay in bed for an hour. I have random days off. I might go and lay in bed for 4 hours, but I've written 2 books. We've launched an app. I'm doing my music career as well. I'm like more productive than ever, and my life looks lazier than ever. So like I allow myself actually to be this like laziness, not in a shameful way, in like a luxurious way, because I've got to recharge the old batteries of this thing. And then when it's charged, I'll go and work 10 times.
From the outside in, though, what you've got a lot better at is the battle between energy conservation and people pleasing, because you used to just say yes to everyone all of the time, and now I've noticed you say no probably more than you say yes.
That's a great word, no.
Yeah. Hard.
That's an important one. Yeah, hard, but
is.
really important one.
It is. Yeah, I don't really socialise. I don't really go out. I'm not great at keeping up with people on text messages. Yeah, some things I'm not particularly proud of, but I also sort of accept them as they are. And the fruits of that has been laser focus on certain things that I get so much joy and fulfillment from. It's so worth it. But it's so interesting because you'd never really read a productivity book that says wake up and lay in bed for an hour and have a coffee.
Yeah,
Don't
and you know
stress.
those books, I don't know if they're still popular. They certainly were popular, of like work 5 hours a week and become X, Y, and Z. You know,
yeah.
I never read a single one because I was conditioned to believe that the longer the hours you work, the harder you're working, and therefore the more you will achieve and be more successful. Like logic, very, very simple logic. In practice, in my case anyway, that is absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
And it's those bursts and being, I'm sort of constantly, I guess, navigating being autistic and wanting the structure and the routine and the ruthlessness of, you know, down to minutes and kind of really partitioning things off and structuring everything, versus the ADHD piece of like, well, I'm just going to do a day's work in an hour and that's what I'm going to do.
So you're ADHD?
Yeah.
Oh wow, so you're like us in one.
Let's talk about this, though. My understanding, lots of people online keep asking, is Rich autistic?
Yeah.
This is very much amusing, Rox. So
It is. It's amusing because we obviously had a mega blind spot to it. And I sort of can't believe, like, we're on the internet.
The audience didn't.
No, they've always been saying, I think Rich might be autistic. Has Rich ever done an autism test? One of us.
Are you going to answer my question now? Is that what's happening?
No, I'll smoothly hand over to you.
Right, okay, thank you.
So, and also Sia, Rich's eldest, is diagnosed autistic. So there were a few little possible clues. And then we did decide to do you an online test, obviously not diagnostic at all, but just out of interest. Smooth handover happening now.
Yeah, we're pretty, like, my eldest is autistic. We reckon my dad probably is. Everything about my personality, I don't know why we didn't know. I don't know why I haven't sort of spotted it, but it, I do show
yeah,
traits.
but why didn't we know that Rox was
Yeah,
ADHD?
true.
Like, why am I was I a 39-year-old adult with a very high IQ and not able to even know that I'm autistic?
Yeah.
Like, how do we not see these things?
So true.
And you guys, I guess, knowing and learning so much about ADHD, then this blind spot of, hold on a minute.
Wait, what? Yeah. And it's like everyone, one of our, I think it was the London shows, it got mentioned that I might be autistic, and the whole crowd, like, we're actually shouting out, we already know that, Rich. What are you, and laughing, like, what?
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
So we just don't put neurotypical husband anymore. We just put non-ADHD because I'm not ADHD. Like, I am certain of that.
You're not ADHD.
But yeah, so I'm in a bit of a weird space now. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know whether to pursue it, whether it would help. I just don't know. Like, it's not really affecting me in a negative way. So it's quite personal, but I also don't want to be the person on the internet, because I think there could be some work, right? Like, it could be some educational work. We've got a platform like User Voice, and I'm like, I can't do that unless a doctor tells me that I'm autistic. I can, like, make a joke about it and think I might be and do the little online test, but I don't want to really pursue it until it's official. So I don't know, I'm in a bit of a weird space with it at the moment.
But how does it, because this is not the first time I'm coming across the idea of last to know. We had Heston Blumenthal on here. He's the last to know suddenly that he's ADHD and bipolar. No one was actually surprised when I told them I'm autistic. And I'm kind of like, well, I didn't. Why are you not surprised?
Why didn't you tell me?
Why are you not surprised? So how does that feel when you've got a crowd shouting back to you?
I find it quite amusing in a way. And actually, when I think, well, why are you not surprised? And then when I really reflect and start thinking, I'm like, wait, how did I not know? Like, that's probably where it takes me. It's like, how did I not know when I've got a child that's autistic? I literally work now in the neurodivergent space. Like, what's going on? How did I know? It's I don't know why it becomes a blind spot, but it really does.
But you were, and maybe still are, so highly masked, which I think comes from being a teenage dad and having to, like, you had to work. There wasn't a lot of time for your needs. Like, at 18, your life belonged to somebody else. You'd never spoken to a mental health professional. So you went to work, you worked so hard and you survived.
Yeah.
And since leaving his sort of 9-to-5 job, because we're sort of doing content and books and stuff full time now, which is brilliant, I have seen this other character coming out, a character that doesn't like leaving the house, that doesn't like loud noises, that likes to watch only the same Marvel film over and over again, that can become quite overstimulated and get quite angry and need space alone. Like, we're seeing this little
finds it incredibly difficult when plans change, which
Yeah.
happens a lot with someone with ADHD. Like
My
that all
wife.
happens in your brain, does it? Like, like that sounds chaotic. Like
The plans changing thing, like my palms instantly again feel sweaty hearing about you even talking about plans changing. What goes through your head?
it's just it's anxiety, it's confusion, it's anger. I'm like, why would you do this? Like even sometimes, right, it gets quite like dark. I'm like, wait, I make all these allowances for you. What about me? Like, why don't you think about me when you decide to change like, I don't say it in an aggressive way, but like I'll verbalize it. And it's just, it feels like the worst thing in the world. But then I can spend 15 minutes reflecting, right, like, how does that feel? What would the new plan look like? And then if that works, I'm like, no, okay, this can work. So you're actually a lot better now at drip feeding, aren't you? Like the potential idea of a plan changing in the future.
My wife does this.
Yeah.
Drip
I'll
feed.
come in and I sort of
She is a big drip feeder, my wife, on
hold
plans
the
changing.
hand and just so I know we've got. I do it in a different way, and I guess when you talk about, and it's obviously totally your decision, but whether you do choose to make it official or not, even me just knowing there is a possibility, it's totally changed the way that I approach him, and even using the words like, you're a bit overstimulated. Do you need some alone time? Do you want to go and watch Infinity War again? It's given me this whole other language to kind of love you in a better way that works for you that I didn't know that you needed before. And it makes a massive difference in how relaxed and happy you are at home, looking at you through a sort of autistic lens, whether or not that goes anywhere.
Yeah, well, same. I didn't even know that I needed
I know.
because 9 to 5 job, I was 20 years in the bank and I got to quite a senior level. Like I was like running one of the biggest branches of the bank in the UK in Brighton. And it was just like on the treadmill, just had to act a certain way, had to get up at this time. Like it was just, I suppose the routine would have helped me, but certainly because I was the boss, how I needed to act was so far away from how I wanted to react. Like when people worked for me, I wanted to be really, that's why people I think would describe me now as quite blunt, direct. Like even at family gatherings, if it gets to an hour and a half in and I want to go, I'll just sort of announce it.
Me
I'm
too.
going to go now. See you
Yeah, me
later.
too. I do that. I even set up how long you're going to stay for. Family. No, you're leaving at this time.
Do you see?
Yeah.
I would
good.
love that.
That's good. That's a good.
the next level.
Can
Like,
you arrive here?
yeah.
It's like my mum
And then
we're talking
leave.
about.
Yeah.
My mum, and then and then if it's okay, you'll leave in the afternoon.
That's so amazing.
That's good.
But I don't know.
Boundaries.
I'm not saying that is amazing because that's what I need.
Yeah.
No,
And obviously it's clarity for the person on the receiving end, but I don't know how that kind of comes across in a WhatsApp message to my mum. You know?
You shall be leaving at 1:30.
But I think that's got to be better than it getting to 1:30 and you going, can you just leave now, please?
I think it's just that kind of, and I know it from the work world of if there's no brief, it's not happening. If it's not in the calendar, it's not happening. I want context. I want an agenda. I want outcomes. I want next steps.
I lied.
That's you.
We're
That's you
like,
all over.
we're the same, man. Like even we have
I'm calling it. You're autistic, man.
It's the autism, isn't it? Yeah.
We have a call with our manager every Monday, and like sometimes Rox is busy and I'll be on the call and I'll actually say now, because I'm comfortable with him and his assistant, I'm like, right, it's just me, so we'll have no small talk, please. So like, I hope you had a nice weekend, but I don't want to know
give a
what you did. Whether you did or not, I don't care. So can we just get straight onto it?
Here's
I
the
do the
agenda
same
I've
with
pre-written.
messages. I wrote a message yesterday because I needed something doing to our manager. So I just, it was a statement. Can you do this? There was no please, no thank you. And then like clock myself. I'm like, that was really rude. And then just sent another message, please and thank you. Like, just get to the point. Like, Yeah.
You sometimes get me to read emails or texts to humanise. So he'll write the points and he'll be like, can you humanise? And I'll, hello, how are you? Smiley face. Thank you so much. I just add in the niceties. Because sometimes if you don't know someone, you don't want to
I know, and this
offend
is
them.
the danger, isn't it? I tried to enforce this rule at Seedlip of a 5-sentence email rule. So I'd done a bit of research into email psychology and kind of was like, the way to email inboxes are like competitions, right? Everybody's in there trying to vie to be read and responded to fastest. So how do you increase your chances of getting your email seen, your email responded to before anyone else? And it's not by sending people massive long paragraphs. And it's not by, you've got to have a call to action on there. All that kind of good stuff, subject title, really important. But actually, in hindsight, I was kind of like, God, you're not leaving a lot of like love and room for a bit of warmth there when you've got to say it in 5 sentences, And I know it can verge on being a bit clinical, and a bit, a bit practical or a bit curt.
Maybe that stands out though. Maybe that's a good thing. Because all the emails are warm and lovely. Like, you see through it, like in the end, don't you?
But I'm just getting to the point now where I'm dropping "hope you're well."
Yeah, that's such. Yeah, I don't think I do hope you're well.
Of course, I do hope the person's well.
Just take it as given.
Yeah, you don't have to say it every time.
But I'm not in the "how are you" phase.
No.
Yeah, but what happens when you go "hope you're well"? They reply and go, "I'm good, thanks. How about you?" And I'm like, you don't care. I don't care. Like, what is this dance of bull that we're doing? I love it.
Just rounding off this bit, what I love is what you said, Rox, that you, even though Rich isn't formally diagnosed as being autistic, you are enjoying having more understanding and therefore patience, tolerance, etc., and that's benefiting you.
So I'm just reminded of something that happened the other day, and the lens, the possible autism lens, totally changed my reaction to him. So I was blabbing on about maybe wanting to change a sink in a new bathroom.
Oh my God.
So I'm looking at this sink. I go, is that a bit big for this room? Could I possibly... All the thoughts just blah, 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 coming out, because this bathroom is my current obsession. And I haven't yet picked up on it because I'm just in my blah, 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 word vomit mode. And then he says, I'm finding this really hard. I need to walk away. And he walks away. Now, 6 months ago, I would have been really hurt. But I'm like, oh yeah, I'm thinking of changing something that's just happened. That's really difficult. He needs to walk away because he's really anxious. So he was able to just walk away. And then we had a little chat later and I could apologise for just going in with this big plan change. And it was pretty productive.
There was slightly more to it.
Oh, have I forgotten something?
No. It's just it's probably a good way of explaining why I found that difficult is it wasn't just the fact that there was a sink there and she might want a different sink. I think I would deal with that okay. It's the fact that that sink had been changed and the workman had said, how about this sink? And she was like, yeah, that's great, brilliant. And then it's been there for the last month on the side, the sink in the place. And it was after he had tiled and siliconed and plumbed it all in and it was finished that she went, might be a bit big. I'm like, oh my, what?
Because you fast forward the tape, right? You go through, or my head, even just hearing that goes, okay, well, that means he's got to come back. You've got to
yeah.
It's gonna cost more. Blah, blah. All that of like, no, just be happy with the sink.
Right. Was that happening to you? Were you fast
I
forwarding?
was like, wait. And it's immediate as well. It's like, what does that mean? That means having an awkward conversation with him, even though he's brought it up 3 times. He's got to rip the tiles off the wall. He's got to do plumbing. It's probably another 2 days' work. We've got carpets coming in 2 days. He has to be finished.
Right.
The world's over, basically, because you want a different sink.
Didn't see any of that. I just thought it was like, new sink. Do you know what I mean?
But you're right, though, because there was no conflict there. And that is so hard, though, right? So how I would want to react is have a little bit of an argument or whatever. And Rox has asked, historically, like when that happens, you don't really verbalize it. You'll just go quiet, or you'll treat me differently, or you'll say a certain thing. So what I'd really love you to do is, in the moment, say what your needs are or what you're struggling with. But we're conditioned, or certainly I am, conditioned to just not do that. Just go straight for defense or attack, or both. But that was quite a good sort of exchange, wasn't it? Sync's still there. She's happy with the sync now. Didn't change.
I just needed time, just needed my process.
Conclusion of the story.
You know, yeah.
The sync.
I think that was important for you to know what happened.
Could have gone either way.
Can we talk about some of your ND dictionary definitions? Please explain time blindness to me.
It's either now or it's not happening. That's it. That's my clock. It's split in half. There aren't hours on it. It's just now or never. And we're either in that side or in that side. And that's it. So if you want me to do something, it needs to be now. And if you ask me to do something in the future, it will
I don't
be
think
forgotten.
that's correct.
Oh, go on then.
I think it's, you think you can do an hour's worth of work in 5 minutes. Or when we're standing outside the train station, she'll be panicking to get out of the car because the train's arriving in 10 minutes and it's a 1 minute walk. There's just no perception
So time is a moving, wonky, wonderful thing. It's not.
Do you wear a watch?
No. No.
Time blindness.
Like, I've wanted to so many times. I've wanted to get into a watch but I wouldn't look at it, and even if I did, I'd interpret it wrong. So I'm just out here living my life.
Let's talk about groy.
The grief and joy of figuring out that we are neurodivergent. The joy is, oh my God, I finally make sense. Suddenly you feel not misunderstood. You feel part of a community, part of something. You move through the shame. It's just the most brilliant thing. And you can make lots of adaptations in your life that then make life better. It's great. The grief is the decades of not knowing, no support, self-blame, self-shame. What could life have been like? How could I have been happier earlier? Could all that drinking and self-harm and relationship problems, could I have not gone through that?
Tell me about Heidi Up.
You do this now still. So the place that she wants to tidy up is in fact tidy, but the things that she's moved to allow that to be tidy are not in the place that they belong. They are in fact hidden in drawers, in cupboards, in different rooms. So rather than one place of mess, there's probably 3 or 4 all hidden around the house with random objects and items
If you
in.
can't see it, it's not mess.
Right.
And what are doom piles?
Letters, hair clips, things that need urgent attention that I'm never going to look at. I just stack them up. It gives me a sense that I'm organising without actually having to do any work. So it's great. It's like 2 birds with 1 stone. So they're on the stairs, they're in the kitchen, they're in my get ready room. Just piles of stuff that really need my attention but won't be getting it.
And so what happens to them?
I sort them out probably.
Do you?
Well, are they there anymore?
Sometimes no. But they're like little molehills because then other ones will just pop up.
I'll go through things and what's really urgent nowadays, really. Like I'll go through things, throw it away, put it in the right place. Or Rox will say, where's my sunglasses? And only I will know because they would have been part of a pile that no longer exists.
Yeah.
Can you give me, and this is a question for both of you actually, I'd like to know, Rox, your 3 tips on managing your ADHD.
So number 1 is stop trying to fix it, because trying to fix it is a full-time job and it will never work. And when you stop trying to fix it, you claim back so much time. Like you can be a little chaotic, forget things, lose things, run a bit late, be overstimulated and still do absolutely epic. And I've managed to do more epic by embracing the chaos than all the years I was trying to fix it. So stop trying to fix it. Stop the horrible self-talk that I'm lazy, I'm useless, I'm a piece of shit, I always quit. It's like anti-manifesting. If you say that to yourself, it becomes real. Actually, you want to look for the positives, look for the creativity, the empathy, the times it's worked. Double down on what you're good at. So many of us have spent our lives obsessively focused on what we're bad at, and we've totally missed the boat on the little bits of brilliance that are there. So find whatever it is that you're brilliant at or makes you feel alive, and just go so hard on that thing and forget the rest. And number 3 is hang out with people that aren't kindness, kind partners and friends, and work with people that you love, because life's too short and we're too sensitive to be around people that aren't very nice. So surround yourself with wonderful humans and things will be infinitely better.
You're not going to go and hang with Miranda, no?
I probably would if she asked, because the people pleaser in me, but I need to know her story and why it's triggered her.
And Rich, 3 tips for being in a relationship with someone who's ADHD.
So most important one for me would be treat things with curiosity and not judgment. They will do things that if you are not ADHD, you will find quite strange, quite maybe nonsensical. And rather than judge, because that's what they've been used to their whole life, even little micro behaviours like rolling your eyes and stuff like that can be quite hurtful. That's quite a big one for rocks. Ask questions, and ask questions from a place of, I really want to try and understand this, rather than a judgmental. Little things like tone really do matter. The other thing is when they come up with a new idea or a new hobby or a new life purpose, which will happen frequently, jump into the fantasy with them. So don't criticize and say, no, that's a ridiculous idea, and what about all this other stuff? Because again, it's probably a place of judgment. So jump into the fantasy with them, have a discussion about the name of the soap making business or resin company or whatever it is. Let it percolate, and then maybe have a decision whether, because you'll find complete genius in a lot of it. And look at our story, some of the things we've built an app, we've written books and stuff. Like it's crazy in my mind that we've done that. And what's number 3? I would say, embrace the genius. People say a lot actually online, don't you feel like you're just looking after a child? Don't you feel like you're carrying a burden because you're doing more around the house? And it's a real sort of 2D way of looking at things. And it's also very a neurotypical way of looking at things, like, oh, housework must be equal. Like you must have pink jobs and blue jobs and who does what and blah, 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 blah. It's like, cool, I'll do the washing because I don't find that difficult. What I would find difficult is conceiving and executing the idea of a book. So like, why not let Rox do what she's brilliant at, and not like moan about trivial things that the world seems to make a big deal. Like it's just sort of redefine standards, I suppose.
Love it. And what you've both just said is actually, it's really simple. You've got to get to the simplicity, right? But it's actually really simple, just in terms of focusing on what you're good at, listening, patience, curiosity, some kindness.
It's easy to say though.
Yeah.
It takes practice, doesn't it? It's just practice being kind to each other. And it's as much about me as it is him. And it's whether it's your kid or your partner, sibling, how do you take care of both people? And it's just learning. It's discovering each other and then building whatever works.
What else are you guys going to do?
I'm not past we've had a crazy 18 months. We've just moved house. I just want to do the things that we love for probably the rest of this year. We've been saying it since December though. Like we want to chill out now. Let's just make videos. Let's update Dubby. we've got enough going on. Let's just do the things where we started, but it never quite works out like that, actually. So who knows? Change is great.
I prefer to think of change as just sort of momentum. When you talk about how you two work together, yeah, I really like that. And then I apply that to that going on in my own head. And I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that's like bash, bash, bash.
It's a bit overwhelming to have both.
That fascinates me. Like really, that's beyond my level of intellect to like understand that you've got those two voices sometimes in your head.
It is like having a brake and an accelerator. Or actually, maybe it's more like having an accelerator and a gear stick. And being autistic is absolutely the gear stick. It's like this mechanical kind of structural, practical thing that you don't go from 1 to 5. You go gear 1 and then gear 2 and gear 3 and you can go back. Whereas ADHD is just like the accelerator. And so it's a constant battle. It's like, I don't forget things. I have a photographic memory, so I know where everything is, but I forgot the other chair for this episode.
Okay.
Your autistic side will struggle so hard with that though,
yeah,
right?
Because I've told everybody that I've met this morning. You know, it's the one thing that because I don't forget things, and so I remembered all the other 100 things I have to do to come away for a night from home, which is what I'm doing today. But as I said to you guys, because I told you as soon as you got here, you know, I got diagnosed autistic first, and then 6 or 7 months later or whatever, it's ADHD. So I am still learning. It feels good in the sense of if I can harness both. I enjoy being autistic more than ADHD, if I'm honest with myself.
Why do you think that is?
Because I like working stuff out, and I like being on my own, and I like detail and really thinking stuff through, and I like routine and ritual and repetition. And
it's easier to be satisfied, isn't it? Like you can be satisfied with working something out or a little puzzle or just problem solving, whereas with ADHD it's all like dopamine seeking seems to be all like more external and doing things, and you know,
it never stops.
Yeah.
The minute a book is finished, the next idea falls into your head, and it's like, please give me a break.
And I tussle with that because my God, there's 47,000 edible plants on this planet. The combinations of what you can do with a drink are infinite. Yes. And that's hugely exciting. But guess what? We only launched 4 products in 10 years at Seedlip.
4 products in 10 years?
Only 4 products in 10 years. Some people launch businesses with 30, 50 products.
Yeah.
So it's a perfect case of like, oh yeah, I took the business to 35 countries in 3.5 years. Of course I did, I'm ADHD. But I only launched 4 products in 10 years. Of course I did, because I'm autistic. You know, like all this,
Wow, that's so cool.
So my only thought for you guys is harnessing this can be really amazing, I think, for you from a business perspective, just in terms of like the best of both and making sure that what you do launch and do lands and sticks rather than doing too much or being too far ahead of people or overextending yourselves.
He protects me from running into trouble, going bankrupt, which I've almost done before. You are a safety net, you're a rational lens, data-driven thought process. But the ideas that pass the Rich test slid through 2 books and an app. There's been lots of no's.
Yep.
Lots of no's. But the ones that I can convince Rich of, I think the app's probably, because a book is maybe a bit of an easier sell. The app was quite a hard sell. But when you got on board with the app, it really meant something. And he was able to have conversations with app developers about finances and data in a way that I'm kind of I'd be too bored. I wouldn't really understand it. I just want to see the wireframes, I want to see the designs. that process, that structure is why it came out.
Let's talk about the item that we asked you to bring. So ask people to bring something that represents their brain.
Okay, let me grab it.
Tell us what you brought, Rox.
Squishy.
For those listening, can you describe Squishy?
You can. So Squishy is a sort of drop-shaped squishy. Squishy is bright orange. They also have lime green eyes, so they match the podcast studio really well. And they're like the softest thing ever. So Squishy, fun memories. We were on tour. I do rock music as well. It's another random thing to keep us busy. And we were on tour and we were in the motorway services and I saw Squishy on the edge of a WH Smith.
Yeah.
And I like saw it and was like, I just have to take them home. I felt like an emotional connection. He was just sat there sort of looking lonely. And for the next few days, Squishy did not leave my hands. Squishy travelled with me to every venue in the front of the van. When we got home, Squishy came to bed with us. And then when we moved house, Squishy went into a box and I forgot Squishy existed, only to be removed from the box to bring him here. So he's a lovely reminder that I can think that I like can't live without something and I need it and it has to be there and I need it right now. And then I might just forget.
Might.
It exists.
You might just.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
In a box.
Sorry. But he's here now.
Well, I'm glad to see Squishy. Thank you, Rox. Thank you, Rich.
Pleasure.
I love what you guys do. I wish you all the best. Keep doing it. The community, I know, is grateful. And yeah, look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you so much for having us. Thanks for the podcast. It's brilliant. And thank you for our little green pins.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed this episode of the Hidden 20% podcast, then you can
follow and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube.
Because I'm autistic, I think differently. And back in 2015, I wanted people to drink differently. So I created Seedlip, the world's first distilled non-alcoholic spirits. I took Seedlip from my kitchen to 35 countries and the world's best bars, restaurants, and retailers. And we did it in 3.5 years. It was wild. They're delicious. They're intriguing. They're these distilled botanical blends you can just mix with tonic or have in a cocktail. You really don't need another sickly, horrible mocktail. Check us out on seedlipdrinks.com or Amazon and let me know what you think.